All right, welcome back to another episode of the Complete Game Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Guerin, and today I'm going to be doing another mock draft for everybody out there listening. If you didn't listen to the last mock draft, I drafted from the late slot. I'm pretty sure it was 12th. This time I'm going to be drafting from an early slot, so I'm going to draft from the 101 and kind of show you if I have an early pick, 1, 2, or 3, kind of my draft strategy and how I'm going to tackle my draft if I have an early pick. So if you can see on the screen, please check me out on YouTube, the Complete Game Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe, view the video. So if you go on YouTube and view it, you'll be able to see the whole draft screen like the last one if you watch the last one. So you'll be able to see it. I'm on Yahoo. I'm doing a Yahoo Mock Draft. I'm drafting from the first slot, just normal 12-team Yahoo PPR league, just normal mock draft. I'm doing it with random people, so hopefully we don't get some stupid picks, some bad picks here, and hopefully it's a smooth mock draft. So if you haven't checked out some of my other stuff, I have recently completed my 2020 draft kit. I've sent that out to over 60, 70 people now. It's gotten out to a lot of people. So if you want that, please let me know if you have a draft coming up this weekend before the season starts on Thursday. Just first pick here, McCaffrey, obviously. No question there. Christian McCaffrey, first overall. And obviously, well, that's not why I want to do the first overall pick. It's I want to show you kind of my thought process if I'm drafting early. And now we have to wait a while for the next few picks. So I just want to say, yeah, if you want to see this on video, please check it out on YouTube. Just search the Complete Game Podcast. It'll be posted right after this draft is over. Go ahead and check that out. If you want a copy of my mock draft cheat sheet, please let me know. Reach out to me that way. And if you can and you're listening to this, please go on iTunes, search the Complete Game Podcast. It takes 30 seconds. Please go on there and either subscribe or leave a rating and review. The ratings and review, they help out the podcast. They help share my podcast to the public, so more people can see it. If people are looking at it and they see that it's been rated 5 stars by a bunch of people, then they know it's a good podcast. They know there's good content to be had there, and more people will likely listen. So if you can please just take like 30 seconds to a minute and just go in the iTunes store, the Apple Podcast app, search the Complete Game Podcast. You'll find it. It'll come right up, and just drop a rating and review. You don't even have to subscribe, but definitely just at least drop a rating and review, please. That'd be huge. Thank you very much. So let's get into this draft a little bit. We have pretty standard draft. I took McCaffrey first overall, Barkley second, Elliott, Kamara, Henry, Thomas, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 7th overall, Joe Mixon 8th, Dalvin Cook just went 9th. So pretty standard top 9 there. No surprises. Nick Chubb 10th. Nick Chubb maybe in a PPR, maybe 10th is a little early, but I'm a huge fan of Nick Chubb this year. I'm trying to get Nick Chubb on most of my fantasy teams this year in the early second round. Tyreek Hill goes 11th. So no Julio. Oh, Kelsey goes in the first round over Julio and Adams. That's a shocker a little bit. Never know what you're going to – oh, Mahomes and Kelsey stack by this guy in the first and second round. Oh, Hill, Kelsey, and Mahomes just went 3 picks in a row. So you never really know what you're going to get in Yahoo fantasy leagues. Josh Jacobs goes 14th. So we're at pick 15. Julio Jones and Devonta Adams are not off the board yet. This is a 12-team league, by the way. 12-team mock draft. Eckler just went at 15. Adams at 16. So we're coming up on my pick again. So at the turn here, I'm trying to grab another running back. Miles Sanders, if he falls this far, which is crazy if he does, or Aaron Jones. I'm probably going to try and grab Aaron Jones here. And I might grab a receiver here too. Julio Jones just went. So once we get to the pick and once I select who I'm going to take here, I'll kind of go over the picks before we get to the next round. So Miles Sanders just went. So on the board right now, we have Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Robinson, James Conner, Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen. Some running backs here, James Conner, Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon. So right here at the turn, basically, if I'm drafting first overall and I'm at the turn here, James Conner went, Jonathan Taylor in the second round. Wow, that's pretty early. But especially over Aaron Jones. Hopefully Aaron Jones will fall to me in this mock draft. And I think Aaron Jones actually is falling to the middle to late second round, which is still good value for him. I still think Aaron Jones is worth a second round pick this year in fantasy. Even though some people are down on him this year, I still think he has the potential to have a really good fantasy season this year. So Aaron Jones just went. So the play Hopkins, Robinson, Godwin. So my thinking here is that Carson, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, none of these running backs are better than the receivers on the board. So I'm going to take 2 wide receivers. Took Allen Robinson, and I'm going to take DJ Moore. So yeah, I'll just break down those picks a little bit. So if I'm picking at the turn there, at the 101 turn, and I'm coming up in the second round, third round. So running backs that I'll select there, if like Miles Sanders drops that far, which will never happen, or Austin Eckler or Aaron Jones, I'm 100% drafting Eckler or Aaron Jones. I'll even take both of them. I'll start 3 running backs in a row. So if Eckler and Aaron Jones are there, I'll definitely take those guys. But the thing with the first pick this year is that usually all those guys are gone by the end of the first round and by the end of the second round. Like that's what just happened there. Even though guys like Jones and Miles Sanders kind of fell right there to the end of the second round, they were still gone by the time I got to pick at the end of the second round. So if Jones and Eckler are gone, I don't think any of these running backs like Gordon, James Conner, guys like that, I don't think any of those guys are worthy of taking a pick in the second and third round over the wide receivers that are there. So at the end of the second round, you have available wide receivers like Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, guys like that, Chris Godwin. So you have guys available like that, and I would much rather have guys like that and the guys that I took over a guy like Chris Carson in the third round or somebody like that, like James Conner, who's always injured. So just why I picked Robinson and Moore. So I think Allen Robinson and DJ Moore are kind of like the 2 safest receivers this year. You could have taken Chris Godwin there. Chris Godwin would have been a fine pick. I know Chris Godwin's been missing some time in practice. So for this mock draft, a week away from the season, I'm just going to stay away from him for now. So Allen Robinson, I'm a huge fan of Allen Robinson this year. So technically, Nick Foles is going to be an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky. So technically, Allen Robinson gets a quarterback upgrade. Allen Robinson in his career so far has played with Blake Bortles and Mitch Trubisky, 2 terrible quarterbacks. So technically, Nick Foles is going to be the best quarterback that he's played with. So if he's getting a quarterback upgrade, even if it's relative, we know Nick Foles can be good, but we know he's not an elite quarterback or anything. We know Nick Foles can be really good, but Nick Foles is technically going to be a quarterback upgrade for Allen Robinson. So you have David Montgomery, the running back, who's injured right now, going to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a groin injury. You have Taylor Gabriel from last year, who's gone. So really now the only receivers for Nick Foles are going to be Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller. And you're still going to see some dump offs to Tariq Cohen, especially with David Montgomery being injured now. But there's really no great tight end there either. Jimmy Graham's there. I know they have like 6 tight ends on the roster, but none of them are going to command a lot of targets. So you have no third wide receiver commanding targets. You have no tight end commanding a lot of targets. So really, Allen Robinson is just going to get fed the ball this year. He's going to get fed all the targets this season. So I think Allen Robinson has a nice floor there where he's going to be the number 1 option no matter what. He has a nice floor. He's going to get a ton of targets this season. He's probably going to score a decent amount of touchdowns. And if you go back a few years prior and you watch Nick Foles on the Eagles, Nick Foles actually targeted Alshon Jeffrey a lot. He likes his outside wide receivers where Carson Wentz likes throwing to the tight ends. And Nick Foles, even in Jacksonville, was targeting DJ Chark, D.D. Westbrook in the slot a little bit when he did play, when he was healthy, when he was actually starting, even though it was only a few games. So I do like Allen Robinson a lot this year. We're coming up at a pick again at the end of the 4th round. So here at the end of the 4th round, best available, Mark Andrews. We have guys like wide receivers. We have Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Robert Woods. Running back has run thin really fast in this draft. Mostert, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Kareem Hunt, Ronald Jones. So running backs are almost gone already in this draft at the end of the 4th round. And like I said earlier, that's why if Eckler's there at the end of the 2nd round, early 3rd round, and Aaron Jones, you got to take those guys because the running backs go really fast. There's not many running backs left. And that's why I'm going to take one here. I'm going to take Cam Akers from LA. And I'm still going to take a receiver here. I'm going to take Robert Woods. So going forward with after the Robinson pick, I went DJ Moore. So DJ Moore gets Teddy Bridgewater as his quarterback this year. Bridgewater is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Probably not going to throw the ball deep down the field, but it's at least going to be accurate targets. DJ Moore is extremely athletic. So if Teddy Bridgewater is putting the ball accurately into the hands of DJ Moore, then DJ Moore is athletic enough to have some yards after the catch. All he needs is accurate targets to do some work after the catch and get a bunch of extra yards. And their offensive coordinator this year is Joe Brady from LSU. So the guy that made LSU and Joe Burrow the greatest college offense in the history of college football is now the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers defense is going to be really bad this year. They're going to be really young. So they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be throwing the ball accurately. They have a really good play caller. And I think DJ Moore is poised for a huge breakout 3rd season. I'm pretty sure he was like top 12 last year and people weren't even that high on him. And he quietly went under the radar and had an extremely solid season. And I think this year is kind of the year that he jumps to stardom. I'm trying to grab him in all my drafts. I think this is the year that the media and people finally realize that DJ Moore he's gonna ascend to stardom this season. So going to my next 2 picks, like I said, just want to say it again. I'm trying to get 2 running backs in the first 3 picks. I'll even take 3 running backs in the first 3 picks because we got to the 4-5 turn here, and the only running backs that were really solid that are left are these rookie running backs, Akers and Swift. And Akers, for me, I'm pushing the button on Akers even in like round 4 maybe, but definitely here in round 5. I think Darrell Henderson is battling an injury. And if Darrell Henderson misses any time, Cam Akers as a rookie is going to be the starting running back in a Sean McVay offense. And you just can't turn that down in the 4th and 5th round. You just can't turn away from that. So at this point in the season, before the season, at this point in training camp, if Henderson is kind of battling a hamstring injury, I think it was, if he's battling an injury, then Akers is a must draft for me. Akers is going to be Sean McVay's number 1 running back. He's going to get all the work. He's going to be a workhorse for sure. He's way better than Malcolm Brown. He's way better than Darrell Henderson, we think. Akers was a stud in college. So I'm trying to get Akers on all my teams. I'm fine right now as Akers as my 2nd running back. I don't love it. I would much rather have somebody else as my 2nd running back than Cam Akers, who's a rookie. But I do love Cam Akers, and I had to take him there because I had to get another running back. Then I took Robert Woods. Robert Woods is one of the most consistent players in all of fantasy football. He's going to give you that 10 to 15 points every week. Might not score a lot of touchdowns, but in a PPR league, he's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to get a ton of touches, and he's in that Sean McVay offense too. So I'm extremely happy to take him in the 4th round, and I got him here at the 4-5 turn. So just to recap some picks here, we saw Leonard Fournette here go in round 6. He's obviously in Tampa Bay now. We don't know what the touches are going to be like there. I think 6th or 7th round is going to be a decently safe spot to take him. I wouldn't take him any earlier than the 6th round at this point. But 6th and 7th round, when you're starting to take some of your bench players, I have no problem with taking Leonard Fournette 6th or 7th round, shooting for some upside. There really are no other crazy picks here. Everything has pretty much been going standard. So round 6 here, Tyler Higbee goes, Devontae Parker, Deshaun Watson, Cortland Sutton. So it's pretty standard here. Nothing out of the ordinary, no crazy picks. So we're coming up on the round 6-7 turn here. So right now I have Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Cam Akers, Robert Woods. So I'm going to try and get some more receivers or running backs here. I want another running back. I don't know who it's going to be. Oh, I do. Okay, so on the board here, running back, Darren Waller just went, Michael Gallup. On the board here for running backs, we have Ronald Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Moss, Matt Breida, James White, Phillip Lindsay, Tevin Coleman. For wide receivers, so hold on. Before I get to that pick, I'm going to take James White, and then I'm going to try and take a receiver here. So Marquise Brown, Tyler Boyd, Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry, A.J. Green, Deontay Johnson, Marvin Jones, Julian Edelman, Jamison Crowder, Sterling Shepard, all guys on the board here. And Kyler Murray went the pick before me. I'm going to try and grab a receiver here. Who am I going to pick? I'm taking AJ Green here. I'm a huge AJ Green fan. That's kind of a subjective, self-biased pick. So right there, Kyler Murray goes the pick before me in round 6, round 7. I think you should definitely target Kyler Murray there if you get the chance. That's kind of late for him, round 6 or 7. He has top 5 quarterback potential this year. I'm a late quarterback drafter, but if Kyler Murray is going to slip to round 6 or 7, then you can definitely push the button there. And I need another running back. I needed to get some running back depth. James White, he is definitely going to get all the passing down work like usual, like every year. And recent reports out of camp now are that Damian Harris had surgery on his pinky. Damian Harris might miss the season opener. Lamar Miller is still battling injury coming back from that ACL tear. I think they just took him off PUP, but you don't even know how healthy he's going to be. Sony Michel is flirting with the PUP list. So they have all these injured running backs, and there's James White just sitting there healthy. And James White obviously has value from his pass catching role, but if all these guys that are supposed to play the early downs in New England are injured, you're going to see James White probably touch the ball a little more. You're not going to see James White be a 3-down full-on workhorse, but you're going to see him on the field a lot more. You're going to see him get a lot of targets again, and you could see him with all these injuries be a guy who starts getting some more carries. Not a ton, but you could see him start to get more touches. And obviously on the Patriots, you want a guy on the Patriots. So I think James White, you can slot him right into your running back 2 flex option, at least for most of the season, especially if all these other guys are going to be banged up. I'm trying not to have James White as my second running back. I would be comfortable starting James White in the flex, but I would not be comfortable starting him as my second running back. But right there, needing a running back, I had to push the button on him. I had to take him to just ensure that I have some running back depth there. And then I took AJ Green. Like I said, I'm a little biased towards AJ Green. I'm a huge AJ Green fan. All I'm hoping for is just like even half a season of AJ Green being back to old AJ Green. I know he's getting older now. He's already got a hamstring injury in camp, but I love AJ Green, and on the bench, might as well shoot for that upside. If AJ Green can somehow go back to old AJ Green, even for a couple games for half the season, having him on your bench is going to return some value at least. We hope that offense is going to be a lot better. So far, we have Robinson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Cam Akers, Robert Woods, James White, AJ Green. No tight end, no quarterback yet. Going on round 8. So let's look at tight ends. We have Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst, Mike Gesicki, Rob Gronkowski, Blake Jarwin, TJ Hawkinson. So we still have Hunter Henry. So really, I'm not drafting a tight end in my draft until guys like Hunter Henry and Hayden Hurst go off the board. So I think Hunter Henry and Hayden Hurst are kind of those middle tier tight ends. And I'm not trying to take any of these middle tier tight ends. So I'm going to wait until those guys go before I take a tight end. Here we have Carson Wentz, Matt Breida, Marvin Jones, best available, Edelman, Crowder, Roethlisberger. I'm going to take a look at running back again. I want another running back on my team. Okay. So wide receivers, Marvin Jones, Julian Edelman, Crowder, Shepard. I'm going to take Sterling Shepard here. And I should take a running back here. I should take a running back, but I'm going to wait. You know what? No, I need the running back help just with how my draft has played out here. I need a running back here. I'm going to push the button on a running back. So if you find yourself in a scenario like I'm in where you didn't get that huge, like that solid number 2 running back like I don't have, I'm going to try and push the button on more running backs in the end of the draft here, towards the end of the draft. So I took Sterling Shepard. So I think people are forgetting that Sterling Shepard's still the number 1 wide receiver on his team. So just round 8, round 9, I just got a number 1 wide receiver on his team. Daniel Jones, we saw last year, is actually somewhat competent. He's not afraid to throw the ball and take some chances. They upgraded the offensive line, and that's pretty good value in the 9th round, getting a number 1 wide receiver. If he can stay healthy, he's probably going to deliver you some good weeks. I like Sterling Shepard, especially in PPR leagues. Slot him in as like your 3rd wide receiver flex option. And I think there's a little bit more upside there. I think there's upside for more with Sterling Shepard, especially if Daniel Jones takes that next step forward. So I'm happy to have Sterling Shepard on my bench. And in round 8 or 9, you have Shepard on your bench, who you can honestly, I think Sterling Shepard could be a 3rd wide receiver flex option. If you're in some sort of league that starts 3 wide receivers, maybe double flex, something like that. If you're in a 12-team double flex 3 wide receiver league or something like that, where the rosters are a little bigger, I think Sterling Shepard in the 8th, 9th, and 10th round of your draft is actually startable. Oh my gosh, kickers and defenses are going off the board. Stupid Yahoo mock drafts. I hate drafting with people that do this. It ruins the draft. And that's why I kind of through 9 rounds here, I haven't been talking a lot about the draft board. There really hasn't been that many stupid picks until now that people are starting to take some kickers and defenses round 9 or 10, and which kind of ruins the draft for me. It annoys me because I don't want to have a mock draft and try and practice what I want to do for my draft and have people take stupid picks like that. Buffalo defense. So there's like 5 defenses off the board now. Because like if you're in a really competitive league, nobody's drafting defenses that early, and you shouldn't either. There's no reason to draft defenses that early when there's still a ton of good players on the board. And then my other pick, which I'll talk about now, is Chase Edmonds. So Kenyon Drake last year we saw come in and be great for the last few games at the end of the season. But as I've said in some of my other podcasts and some of my other episodes, we've never seen Kenyon Drake be a workhorse for an entire season. We don't know. That's just the thing. We don't know. And when there's a question mark, when there's an unknown, if Kenyon Drake can be a workhorse for an entire season, when there's an unknown there, it's a good opportunity to grab the next guy up, who would be Chase Edmonds, which is it's a really good offense. It's a great offense. Obviously, hopefully Kyler Murray takes another step forward. They get Hopkins. They drafted a lineman. They got a new offensive tackle in the draft. And if they're going to be the team that tries to run the most plays in the NFL like they tried to do last year, then Chase Edmonds could return some standalone value. He could get like 5 to 8 touches every week. If they're going to run that many plays, he could see some carries, maybe a few catches out of the backfield, maybe a screen play here or there. And he's the kind of guy that you're not really going to put in your lineup, obviously, taking him in the 10th round. But there's, like I said, there's an unknown there with Kenyon Drake. We've never seen him be a workhorse for the whole season. He's been in a walking boot in practice. They said he's fine, but there's definitely concern there. There's definitely a question mark. And where there's a question mark, I'm targeting the cheaper option in a backfield where there's kind of a question mark. So I like Chase Edmonds. Take players in good offenses, especially when there's question marks. So James White on the bench, AJ Green, Shepard, Edmonds. So I have 2 bench spots left. I still don't have a quarterback or a tight end. So quarterbacks left here are Big Ben, Brady, Daniel Jones, Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Mayfield, Cam Newton. Running backs, we have Breida, Lindsey, Coleman, Latavius Murray, Adrian Peterson, Marlon Mack, Terrell Henderson, Kerryon Johnson, Duke Johnson. Tight ends, we'll go receivers, Edelman, Crowder, Slayton, John Brown, Christian Kirk. Tight ends, we have Gesicki, Gronk, Jarwin, Hawkinson, Herndon, Hooper, Goddard. So I think I'm going to try and take a tight end here. Like I said a few minutes ago, that middle tier with Henry and Hurst are kind of gone. That tier is over. Those middle tier guys are gone. So here's where I'm going to try and take a tight end. And if this was my real draft, I would probably wait another round just based on knowing my league mates, knowing who I draft with, studying my other teams in my league's roster construction through the draft, knowing if everybody has a tight end, then maybe I can wait an extra round. But for the purpose of this mock draft, whatever you want to call it, and analysis, I'll take a tight end here. And I think in my other mock draft that I did at the 12 slot, I took Mike Gesicki. So this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take TJ Hawkinson. And once I do the picks, I'll explain why I picked who I did. And just some picks. Damian Harris just went, which is unbelievably late considering even if he does play week one and if Sony Michel doesn't, he could be the starter. Christian Kirk just went, who I actually was going to take. I was going to take a tight end and Christian Kirk. So Kirk goes right before me, which I'm kind of mad about. Crowder goes right in front of me. So I'm going to take TJ Hawkinson here in round 10. So wide receivers, I don't like any of the wide receivers here. Running backs, there's still some decent ones on the board. So round 11 here, I'm going to take a quarterback and a tight end. And I'm going to take Cam Newton. So 99 times out of 100, you'll never see me go quarterback, tight end, back-to-back picks like that at a turn. But for this purpose, for the analysis of this mock draft, I'm going to do it just so I can explain the picks to you, and just so I don't miss out on those guys, because the two guys that I just took are some of my favorite guys to draft this season. So TJ Hawkinson, top 10 overall draft capital, going into his second year, and he's a really, really great tight end prospect coming out of Iowa. He got drafted top 10, even higher than his teammate at Iowa, Noah Fant. Matt Stafford's not afraid to throw the ball around. He's not afraid to put the ball in traffic and make some big plays happen. There's really no other tight end there. TJ Hawkinson has the draft capital. He has the athleticism. And after last year, we saw him have a huge week in the first week of the NFL season. And you don't see rookie tight ends produce that early. Some rookie tight ends don't return any value at all until like their third season in the league, maybe late second year. You really don't see any tight ends produce that earlier in their career. Like George Kittle's first season at the end of the year, you saw him have some decent games at the end of his rookie season. And that was kind of a tell that he was going to break out in his second year. So when you see a guy like that who has some, like, especially at the tight end position, if you can come into the league your first ever game playing tight end in a position that usually takes 2 to 3 years to get acclimated to the league, learn how to play 3 downs, learn how to pass catch, learn how to run the route tree, and also inline block beyond the line of scrimmage, and learn how to block for running backs. Tight ends kind of have to learn like 2 positions in one. They have to learn how to be a receiver and a blocker. So a guy like that who can come in his first NFL game and produce like 100 yards is crazy. And I think that game alone is enough to show that Hawkinson can be really, really great in this league. I think Hawkinson is the 1 or 2 or 3 guys at the end of your drafts in those late tight end rounds. These late rounds where these late tight ends are going, I think Hawkinson can be the guy that can make the jump to be an elite tight end in fantasy. He can play all 3 downs. He's really athletic, only going into his second season. So maybe we might be a year early on him just because tight ends normally break out third season. Maybe we're a year early on him. But just like I said before, when you've seen guys like George Kittle produce at the end of their first season, and we saw TJ Hawkinson have some good games in his first season, even though he battled injuries for most of the year. But when you see a guy have some flash games like that in his first year, usually that means things are going to point up for him in his second season. So I'm really happy to take Hawkinson there. Other guys I would take for late round tight ends are Mike Gesicki with Ryan Fitzpatrick in Miami. Could be the number 2 option if Preston Williams isn't back to 100% yet. And Blake Jarwin's going to be the starting tight end, probably not even going to come off the field all season for the Cowboys. Jonnu Smith could end up being the number 2 receiving option for Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee if Corey Davis if he still can't kind of break out with his top 5 overall draft capital. So you could see Jonnu Smith be like the number 2 option there in Tennessee. And then, so going forward, well, those are kind of the 3 or 4 late round tight end guys that I would consider taking: Hawkinson, Gesicki, Jonnu Smith, and Blake Jarwin. Those are really the 4 guys I'm targeting in every draft. I'm not going early tight end. I'm not drafting any other tight ends in the middle rounds. I'm only drafting those 4 tight ends in all of my leagues, only coming away with 1 or 2 of those 4. And then I took Cam Newton, which I'll get to again. My pick's coming up soon. So you really have just some no real crazy picks. You have some handcuffs going here, like Tony Pollard. Tevin Coleman going in round 11. That's decent value. So running backs, we have Duke Johnson on the board. So I have 2 bench spots left. I have 2 running backs on my bench. I have 2 receivers on my bench. So I'm going to take one of each here. I'm going to take, let me search him up. Oh, Jerick McKinnon. Oh, here he is. Okay, so Jerick McKinnon I took. And then wide receivers. Oh, crap. I'm running out of time here. Wide receivers. Who else can I? Oh, here we go. Oh, my favorite sleeper this year is still on the board. All right, so let me just go back to that Cam Newton pick really fast. Cam Newton, drafted him in my first league. Definitely going to draft him in my second league for my draft early next week. Definitely pushing the button on Cam Newton. Cam Newton has had over a year to rest now. Cam Newton was named the starter for the Patriots. Cam Newton is now the quarterback for the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. And Cam Newton is he's going past the 10th round in drafts. So you're getting a quarterback after round 10 who has shown that he can be MVP caliber, top 5 overall fantasy quarterback, especially if he's going to be rushing and running around. And I think with not much time to learn the playbook, that they're kind of going to let Cam Newton do his thing a little bit. Hopefully, if he's healthy, they're going to kind of let him run around, kind of let him do his thing, make some rushing plays for him, design some things for him. So after round 10, you're getting a quarterback that has top 5 overall upside at the position, which is unbelievable value. If you're one of those people that isn't that high on Newton or doesn't think it's a very safe pick, and maybe you want to draft a quarterback earlier in the draft or draft another quarterback in this area and have Cam Newton on your bench to see if he is going to be healthy, then that's fine too. For me, I'm not rostering 2 quarterbacks ever unless it's a 2 QB league. Obviously, I'm never rostering 2 quarterbacks. I'm always using the extra bench spots on running backs and wide receivers. So for me, I'm drafting Cam Newton. They named him the starter. I'm running him out there week 1 in fantasy. I don't care. He has the upside. He's on the right team. He's with the right coach. They have a great offensive line. So for me, I'm drafting Cam Newton no matter what in the 10th round. I think he's a must draft. The upside is top 5 overall in fantasy. Let's say you spend a 10th round pick on Cam Newton, and he gets injured or he stinks. Then so what? You can just cut him. And other quarterbacks in this area like Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Gardner Minshew, Jimmy Garoppolo, you can end up starting some of those guys or just stream in that way. So even if Cam Newton isn't returning value, which I highly doubt that's going to happen, but even if he gets hurt or stops returning value, I for sure think you can start other guys in this area. I think Baker Mayfield's going to bounce back this year. I think Tannehill was startable last year. Even Minshew, they're going to be losing a lot. He's going to be throwing a lot. Kirk Cousins is consistent. Their secondary's banged up. Jimmy G has a favorable schedule to start the year. Like I said with Teddy Bridgewater, he's accurate. He has good weapons. He gets Joe Brady from LSU. So don't be afraid to take Cam Newton. Definitely go all in on Cam Newton. I'm all in on Cam Newton. The upside is tremendous. I'm going for the upside in the 10th round. I took Jerick McKinnon. Hold on. The only picks I have left are kicker defense. So let me just get those out of the way, and then I'll explain these last 2 picks for you. I'm about to pick now. We got defenses, some extra quarterbacks going off the board here, Tannehill, Minshew. So let me just take, just for the record, I don't play, in my leagues, I don't play kicker defense. Some of my leagues play defense, but none of my leagues play kicker anymore. We've had enough of the kicker position. Highly recommend if you are the commissioner of your league or or if you want to see your league improve, definitely get the kicker out. Kickers are stupid. Kickers can ruin matchups just when you kick a bunch of field goals and extra points, and you have the best kickers getting 10 to 15 points a week, and sometimes running backs and receivers aren't even getting that many points per week. I think kickers just end up ruining matchups, and it makes fantasy way less fun to have kickers in there. So my leagues have all gone away from kickers. Some of them still do defenses. If it were up to me, if I was the commissioner of my leagues, I would not do kicker or defense, but oh well. It's no big deal. But I would definitely try and steer away from both of those spots if you can. So going over my last two picks here, Jerick McKinnon. So Raheem Mostert, he asked for a trade. He wanted out of San Francisco. So last year, just a quick anecdote here I want to talk about. So last year at the end of the year, Mostert was having a lot of great games, obviously. And then the first playoff game, as soon as the playoffs start after they fed Mostert for the end of the season, they gave the ball back to Tevin Coleman. So when they give the ball to the veteran like Tevin Coleman in the first playoff game, to me that says that the team doesn't trust Mostert. Yeah, just straight up that means to me, I think that means they didn't trust Mostert. As soon as the playoffs started, they went right back to Tevin Coleman, even though Mostert was getting all the touches the last few games of the season. And then Tevin Coleman in the playoffs got banged up again. He got injured. So then they started giving the ball to Mostert again. Mostert played really well in the playoffs, obviously. He had a great end of the season last year. And then Mostert has a great end of the year, and he asked for a trade. So something's up there. Maybe the front office doesn't like him. Maybe Shanahan doesn't love him. But there's some sort of distrust or something there where they don't really trust Mostert to be their primary back of the future. So like I said about Chase Edmonds, with that uncertainty, go target cheap options in that backfield. Tevin Coleman, I'm not really a fan of, even though he's going cheap. Tevin Coleman had a ton of opportunity to be the lead back for Kyle Shanahan's offense last year. And Tevin Coleman got beat out by Mostert, who's undrafted. So if you're getting beat out by an undrafted guy, that means it's not good for you. It wasn't good for Tevin Coleman last year. I know he had some good weeks, but it is Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's a good offensive line. They added Trent Williams from Washington. They have George Kittle blocking. You want pieces of the Kyle Shanahan offense, especially the rushing offense. And you don't know who's going to be the lead back. You don't know who's going to get the touches. It's probably going to be a shared backfield until things start to clear up. But in these kind of shared backfields, go ahead and grab the cheapest option. There's no reason to take Mostert or Tevin Coleman when you can just push the button on Jerick McKinnon in the last 3 rounds of your draft, who Jerick McKinnon has more upside than Mostert and Coleman. Mostert was good, but I think Jerick McKinnon's a way better player. Jerick McKinnon is one of the most athletic running backs in the league. I think positively about what he's been through the last 2 years. He tore his ACL 2 years ago, and I think of it positively that he's had 2 years to rest now. Like last year, the knee wasn't right, and he had to sit out another year. But to me, that's saying, hey, he's had 2 years to rest, rehab, recover, train, get better, get back to where he was. They still have money invested into Jerick McKinnon. They don't have money invested into Raheem Mostert. They don't have that much money invested into Tevin Coleman, not as much as Jerick McKinnon. And Coleman fell flat on his face last year and couldn't take over the role from Mostert. So I'm not pushed. Why would you draft Tevin Coleman this year when he couldn't even beat out Mostert last year? And like I just said, there's some distrust with the front office there with Mostert and the 49ers. So push the button on McKinnon. McKinnon's athletic, and McKinnon is by far the best pass catcher out of the group. And you want running back targets. That's what you want out of your running backs, guys that are going to get targeted. So if McKinnon can break his way onto the field and be like the third down back, get targets, slowly get back into the offense, get some touches here and there, be that third down back, getting receptions. And if they start letting him get back into it a little bit and you start giving him some carries too, you could see Jerick McKinnon break out all over the place. And like I said, you want pieces of this offense. You want pieces of Kyle Shanahan's offense. And you might as well go get the cheapest option when the cheapest option is the most athletic option and the best pass catching option. So Jerick McKinnon is probably Jerick McKinnon is my top 3 favorite picks in fantasy this year. I am not leaving a draft without Jerick McKinnon. 100% pushing the button, no doubt about it. I'm going to get Jerick McKinnon. I will reach up for him if I have to. He's extremely athletic. He's on the right team in the right offense, and the guys ahead of him are not sure things. So, like I said about Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds, when the guys have had ahead of them aren't sure things and there's question marks, then go push the button on the other guy. So that's what I'm doing with Jerick McKinnon this year. And then my last pick here in the draft, Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard had 2 really good games at the end of the year last year, 100 yards against the Giants, had like 5 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown in week 17. Going into his 3rd year, he's undrafted, and especially with these undrafted guys, it takes them a little longer to get acclimated to the league. When you're not that like first, second round kind of talent, or you're playing at these big name schools, it takes a little longer to get used to the NFL, get used to beating coverages, the NFL offenses, the NFL routes. When you're not quite as, I don't want to say talented, but when you're going undrafted like Lazard did compared to first round guys, there's definitely some sort of difference in talent or something there. So it takes these guys longer to get going in the league. Last year, Aaron Rodgers had the 3rd most pass attempts of his career. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had one of the highest drop rates in the NFL last year. All he does is he's just a deep threat, speedster option. All he's going to do is stretch the field. He's not playing every down. That's MVS. He's not playing every down. He's only getting deep targets. He's just out there to take coverage away from Davante Adams. He was terrible last year. Everyone thought MVS was going to break out, and he didn't do anything last year. He fell flat on his face too. So there's nothing to be excited about with MVS. Right now they have no stud starting tight end. So that means more targets are going to go towards Allen Lazard. Davante Adams can't get every single target the entire game, especially if he's going to get double teamed, he's going to get safety coverage over top or whatever. So you have Allen Lazard, and Geronimo Allison is gone too. So it's Adams, Lazard, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and there's really no stud tight end there to take targets away. Aaron Jones is obviously going to get his in the passing game. He's going to get targets too. Aaron Jones actually might get a target bump here because of these no real reliable options in the passing game other than Adams. But I think Lazard, you can get him in round 12, 13, 14, 15 of your draft. Especially in a 10-team league, he's probably going last round or undrafted. 12-team leagues going like round 12, 13, 14, 15. And Allen Lazard is another one of my must-draft players this year. You're getting the number 2 quarterback for Aaron Rodgers. Say what you want about Aaron Rodgers, where you think he's at in his career. He still is passing the ball a lot. He's still Aaron Rodgers. He's still making some unbelievable money throws. And you're getting the number 2 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers going into his 3rd season with no tight end to steal targets, no 3rd wide receiver to steal targets. So it's going to be Adams and Lazard and 2 wide receiver sets it should be. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a beat reporter or anything or a coach. Like, I don't know that for sure, but MBS did awful last year. So it should be Lazard starting in that 2nd wide receiver spot next to Adams. So if you're getting the number 2 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers in the 13th round of your draft, then why would you not push the button on that guy? Why would you not draft that guy? And if you look at Allen Lazard, kind of his combine profile or his pro day, I'm not sure what the numbers are from, whether it was a combine or a pro day, but he has good numbers. He's like 6'2", 6'3", 220 pounds. He's got good speed for being that big. He's got good speed for being large. I think he's a really solid receiver. He had some decent games at the end of the year last year, kind of like I said about the tight ends. Like when you see guys have big games towards the end of the year, I think that means they start to figure it out a little bit, especially undrafted guy at the end of his 2nd season when he had some decent games there. I think to me that means he was starting to figure it out a little bit, starting to build some rapport with Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully Aaron Rodgers going into Lazard's 3rd season can build some trust up with Lazard. And last year we saw Adams be injured for a little bit, miss a few weeks. So if Adams were to get injured again, Lazard would be the number 1 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers, and he's already the number 2 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. So I love Allen Lazard this year. Go on Twitter at Breakout Finder. I'm going to have an article coming out about why Allen Lazard will be one of the biggest breakout sleepers this year in fantasy football. Check that out at Breakout Finder. It's going to be coming up soon in the next few days. Go check that out. So just wrapping up here, my final roster: quarterback Cam Newton, wide receiver Allen Robinson, wide receiver DJ Moore, running back Christian McCaffrey, running back Cam Akers, tight end TJ Hawkinson, flex Robert Woods. Skipping kicker defense, who cares about that? Bench James White, bench AJ Green, bench Chase Edmonds, bench Jerick McKinnon, bench Allen Lazard. So my bench has a ton of upside to it. I think all these guys have some huge upside, except for James White. And let's say you're in a league, because this is Yahoo Mock Draft, Yahoo format. So let's say you're in a league where you start 3 wide receivers or 2 flex or something like that. I can plug James White into my second running back spot. I can plug James White into my flex. I can plug Shepard into my third wide receiver spot. I can plug Shepard into my flex. So there's some stability on the bench there. There's some guys that have startability on the bench. And then we have guys like AJ Green, Chase Edmonds, McKinnon, and Lazard, who are just straight ceiling upside plays, league winning kind of picks at the end of the draft. There are guys who you want to draft who can potentially win your league. Those late sleepers, breakout players that could be league winners. So yeah, that's the draft. That's my team. I kind of went through pick by pick, kind of what I'm thinking with each turn, with each round at the turn. One thing I didn't do a lot about, because I talked a lot about the players that I drafted, was kind of talk about the draft board and when some players were selected in the draft by other teams. I didn't really talk about that. So if you're wondering where some players went in this mock draft, please go to my YouTube channel, The Complete Game Podcast, and go there and watch the video, and you can see the draft board. You can see where the players are going in the bottom right. You can see when the players are getting drafted, and you can look at the draft board. So if you want to see it visually, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I'm going to post the podcast version as well. But please, like I said earlier in the episode, please leave a rating and a review on the podcast, or subscribe. It helps a ton. Please go subscribe on YouTube. I'm trying to get this podcast going. I'm trying to get it popular. I want people to start listening to this. I think there's some really good content here. I think I've been doing a solid job getting out content for everybody. I think I've been helping a lot of people. So please do that. Go follow me on Twitter at Casey_G as well. And if you want the draft kit, send me a message. Please let me know. So we have like 4 things here just to remind you. Number 1, leave a rating and review. Number 2, subscribe on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast. Number 3 would be to follow me on Twitter at Casey_G14. And number 4 would be to message me on Twitter or leave a comment on YouTube or leave a review in Apple Podcasts saying you want my 2020 draft kit. So 4th thing would be the 2020 draft kit. I can get it to you still if you haven't had your draft yet. Even if you leave your rating and review on Apple Podcasts, just leave. It'll obviously have your email with your review. So just say, hey, I want a copy of the draft kit. Leave your rating and review, and I'll send the draft kit to that email. So thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed this mock draft. I'm going to try and get one more mock draft out from the middle slot. I did a late slot and an early slot mock draft, so I'm going to try and do one more slot from the middle draft slot. But we'll see, since most people are drafting or already have their drafts. But if I have the time, I'll do it. Try and get a middle slot draft in. So thanks again for listening, and take care. Stay tuned for the next episode.